All right, Mr. H here with some key takeaways from week 7 of Purdue University's special education course, EDPS 51500. And the key takeaway that I want to discuss in this video is task analysis. So, task analysis is something you do when you're trying to teach like complex behaviors. So, think like a behavior that takes multi-parts, or maybe that's more abstract, things like that. Task analysis is something you're going to perform to be able to set up the strategies and whatnot that you need to teach that behavior. So before we get into kind of the components of task analysis, I'm going to use one of my favorite examples. I remember in like grade school, you'd see it on tests a lot. And that is the teaching someone to make a PB&J. So it used to be an essay question. I've even seen it for like, like college entrances and whatnot, just as like one of those funny little entrance exams they do. But it's how would you break down how to make a PB&J to somebody that doesn't know, right? So, some examples are going to have 20 different steps. It's going to tell you everything from how to unscrew the lid of the jar to wash your materials afterwards and every step in between. And then others are going to say, get bread, put peanut butter, put jelly, put it together, eat it, right? And so that's kind of where task analysis comes. So depending on certain factors, which we're going to get into when we break down the parts of task analysis, you need to break a task down, even something as simple as making a PB&J, into smaller and smaller parts, and you're going to teach it in segments, right? So the three main components of task analysis are prerequisite skills, materials needed, and then component parts. So prerequisite skills is just determining what skills would your learner need to have prior to ever even engaging in the task, right? So a good way to think of this is, I'm kind of drawing a blank. Oh yeah, like reading, right? So you need phonemic awareness before you can even start to form letters into the sounds and the components of words, right? So teaching reading, you have to have phonemes, phonemic awareness, prior to we can actually start chopping, blending, segmenting, putting words together, and actually coming up with reading. And then once you can read single words and sight words, then we're going to start chaining those together to read sentences, paragraphs, books, etc., right? So the prerequisite skill there is that phonemic awareness. So think any sort of base skill that's not necessarily the behavior, the task, or whatever it is you're teaching right then, they need to have understanding of, right? Next is materials. That's obviously going to be whatever the behavior, the task is, anything like that. What materials do they physically need to do it? If one of your skills is for students to write a complete paragraph, then obviously you need whatever writing utensil or technology they're going to use, right? So just think those actual physical materials. And the third part is components. So here's where we see, for the purposes of IEPs, things like that, the individualization. So the number of components you break a skill into is going to be informed by the abilities or the barriers or even the prerequisite skills that your learner has going into it, right? So to come back to that PB&J, somebody that may know how to open a jar, if they already have the prerequisite skill of you turn the jar, left to loosen it up and right to tighten it, then you might be able to teach the skill as open the jar, as opposed to place your hand on the lid, place your hand on the base, hold firmly, turn the lid left while keeping the base stationary, right? So the number of component parts is going to be determined by those prerequisite skills and the ability level of your learner. So just to kind of recoup all of that, so my key takeaway is the task analysis for teaching complex skills and behaviors, and those 3 points of it are prerequisite skills, materials, and components. So thank you.